If you wanted to see what rooms I've been in, you may want to look through the trash. If I had some time to sit there, there's a huge chance you would see a couple of these cranes in the trash can. I make these habitually, especially when I'm deep in thought. And every time I make these cranes, I throw them away, and with the trust that I'll be able to make them the next time as well. It creates a process of creation and release that repeat over time to form a habit. In a crane, each fold acts as components to create a piece of work. After multiple repetitions, you're able to make different variants of size and make them almost instinctively. I like understanding causal relations. I see the world similar to the folds of the crane coming together. The world consists of dynamic interactive pieces that lead to all of the actions. I like understanding how these components work together to form a coherent piece, from whether a butterfly fluttering its wings halfway across the globe could actually form a hurricane somewhere, to how reducing one plastic cup can compile up to save millions of animals. Similarly, I like understanding how people act, how the things in the past affected their actions currently. This sparks my curiosity, but for the longest time, this was only that, curiosities. My real life goal had been set since I was 5, and I had stuck to it for the longest time. I was introduced to the concept of cancer when I was around 5. When I heard the word cancer, it sent a ripple in my heart. It resonated with me with a reason I could not place, and I heard a ringing in my ears as the teacher slowly explained that it was a very difficult disease to cure and that many are trying to find solutions for it. And from that moment on, like a hypnotized child, my dream was to cure cancer. A couple of months after I turned 13, my mother said we needed to talk. She sat me down and told me I had a sister. If you know anything about bad Korean dramas, the really, really bad ones, you know there are most likely a lot of shocking twists, a lot of lovers finding out they're actually separated siblings, and a lot of family secrets. So by this point, my mind was making up a bunch of stories and created its own episode of a drama series. Was she disowned because she fell in love with a bad person? Was she somewhere out there in the world having run away from my parents who so dearly missed them? My mother told me that she passed away around a year before I was born, when she was only 12, of unknown complications of cancer. The same ring in my heart when I first heard that word reappeared, and it synced up with my old dream I assigned myself to a role. And the goal of curing cancer became more than a naive dream of a child, but more a predestination. Right as I began the second semester of my first junior year, what I now call junior year trial 1, I got really sick. I experienced dizziness and stomach problems. I couldn't walk, move, or even shift my position without feeling like I was going to throw up, and I would get gastric spasms that would make me nearly pass out because of pain. For the next 5 to 6 months, I couldn't do anything. Lying on my bed, I would watch movies and TV shows, hoping somehow that the reality I live in would have changed by the time I got out of the virtual one. But every time I closed my eyes, the dizziness and pain would drown me again. No one could figure out the real reason behind my sickness. It did not make sense with my age group, other health records, and test results. But I got so much time to just sit and think. A lot of my thoughts were about my sister and my sickness. I wondered at times whether I would ever get better, if my sister knew about the severity of her sickness when she first was diagnosed. But at the same time, I started to think more about myself, my own passions, and started separating myself from my sister. And in these thoughts, I slowly surrounded myself with different cranes all around my room that I then threw away and began creating again the next day to the next. I needed to be selfish to survive. My own story was enough, and I couldn't be living for 2. So I went back to my curiosity of causal relations. Now that I was exposed to this family pain, I wanted to help start the healing process that seems to have not even had a chance to begin. And to do this, I realized I need to learn how emotions and past experiences affect future decisions. How people think, act, and believe are all products of thousands, millions of action and reaction pairs, physically due to an interaction between cells in the body, and more conceptually as a result of memory and lessons from our past experiences. I want to discover how people are and why they are. I believe a fundamental understanding of mechanisms is paramount in comprehending people. At the center of this lies the brain for me. And emotion plays such a large role in our life, not just emotion, and from memory to decisions, and all of this is created by the brain. To understand the brain on a deeper level and see clinical applications of neuroscience, I went through an internship this summer with a neural doctor. While shadowing him, I got to interact closely with Alzheimer's disease, or AD, and Parkinson's patients. In AD patients, memory loss, emotional deficits, and personality changes are some of the most common symptoms of AD progression. However, even amongst the memory loss, emotional memories hold especially longer for even patients with more severe AD levels. And personally, I don't think I will ever forget the ripples I felt when I first heard the word cancer, regardless of memory loss. In actuality, the memory centers of the brain are known to be the hippocampus and the amygdala, which are placed next to each other. The same amygdala is responsible for emotion, and perhaps this close connection explains the relationship between emotion and memory. But this does not explain the large role emotion plays in our decisions. This effect is so significant that often in literature, life choices are depicted as a balance between emotion and logic. So how do we create and process emotion? Can we distinguish logic and emotion, or do they always coincide? How do complex systems of thought and belief come about? Because of its subjectivity, sentiment is difficult to quantify, making it a difficult field of study. But I can feel the connection between the electric currents of neurons that build up to our complex thoughts and feelings. It seems to be calling out to me, asking to be discovered. And I want to know more than merely the parts of the brain that light up. I want to know through exactly what relationship each physical neuronal connection has to things that seem intangible. This connection extends itself to the effect of art on us. When I create artworks, when I fold cranes, I like to let go of control and just explore. And I notice that when I do this, my focus and passion for the more rigorous or precise subjects like math or science grows with my freedom of expression. Somehow my letting go helps me think more conceptually, precisely. And this is not just me. My high school math teacher used to be an art teacher, and he mentioned that he would alternate between working on art and math to maximize his productivity. And multiple cases have shown that incorporating art and creative activities into workplaces increases work efficiency. So this calls into question, how does using our creative side relate to our ability to perform the more answer-oriented conceptual tasks? How is the brain stimulated, and how can we use this? If there's actually a physical connection between our abilities in creative and conceptual tasks, how does this connect to productivity, passion, focus? Can this focus be a way to provide emotional healing for patients? Folding cranes have become more than a habit. Paper cranes make me feel at peace, at home. And in my culture, folding 1,000 cranes is believed to make a dream come true. By understanding the components of our brain and our buildup better, we will be able to understand fundamental things about people and use this knowledge to help those in need. And like those individual cranes that have populated my life, we will unlock the secrets of the brain part by part.